Okay, it is 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you're here, thank you so much for being here. We are so excited to launch E4473. We've been working on this since the beginning of the year. We've been head down trying to deliver the most kick-ass product, and I can't wait to share with you today what it's going to look like and how it can change and transform the way that you're currently transacting firearms. So a little bit of what to expect if you're not currently signed up for E4473. I just want to lay the groundwork for what this is going to look like moving forward. So we have a dedicated customer success team that will be, you'll have a specific customer success manager that's dedicated to showing you the product and explaining how it will look in your store. And so you'll have that discussion, talk about what's currently giving you trouble, what your challenges are, and what we might be able to solve. Then we'll go into a soft commitment and talk through pricing. If you're curious about the pricing, you can find it at e4473.com/pricing. I'll go ahead and post the link for you. And then after we get the deal back, then we just begin implementation, and our support team will get you configured and trained on that right away. So I just wanted to outline that in case you're on the fence and you're wondering what the best next steps are for you. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just why FFLs are choosing E4473. And there's lots of reasons why we developed the product and challenges that we're trying to overcome. But the first thing is why now? So turning on E4473 is instantaneous. And I've heard from a lot of pawnbrokers that right now they're selling a lot of guns, and so it might not be a good time. And to that, I challenge you. I think that this is the best time to change your process and speed up the time in which customers are able to buy guns throughout your brick and mortar. Plus, we've found that, and we've heard from existing customers that are already using it and already using beta, that customers are actually coming back to their store to buy more firearms, and from them specifically because of the ease of use to complete the 4473. So it's already proving useful, and it's creating some customer loyalty early on. So the E4473 turns manual handwritten entry into a 360-degree end-to-end solution. Bravo is the only product available on the market that's integrated with E4473 that gives that total end-to-end experience for you. And what I mean by end-to-end is there's no dual entry and there's no hand entry of the 4473 forms, of the NICS information into that document. Everything is automated through the point of sale. You don't have to gather customer information twice. You don't have to type in the firearm twice. We're doing all of that for you through Bravo from the beginning to the very end. Now, I've gotten some questions and some feedback about existing customers being familiar with the 4473 and that this might be a little bit different for them. The 4473, because it changed November 1st, there's already a new steeper learning curve with this new form. Even if your customer has bought a lot of guns before, the 2020 version has a ton of new fields, and it's really confusing because some of the fields are for dealer only, some are skipped because of a prior answer, and so they're not applicable. And then there's the additional NICS and background information that's now required to be documented on the 4473. The form is 5 pages long, and each time a consumer makes a mistake, it requires manual corrective action and initial, and we've streamlined this process too. And so we are saving every single version that the consumer completes in a digital format, so you're not having to have them restart the form every single time. So that's why now is a good time. November 1st, that form did change, and so did the process. And that really started because the firearm has to be identified before the 4473 can even begin. And this is a change up from the way that most FFLs were doing this before. So what we really set out to do is create a solution that solves the problems for the FFL dealers, problems and customer experience from your customer's perspective, and also just make it easier for the ATF because they are also a very important piece of this puzzle, and we've been working closely with them to make sure that they're going to be able to find exactly what they're looking for when when they do audits. So what we aim to do is take one of the most complex and complicated and painful processes and make it really accurate, simple, and safe. We know that gun transactions are the most timely transactions that happen within a store. It often creates a queue or clogs sort of the way that traffic moves throughout your store. And so these are things that when we started developing this, we really wanted to solve. So the first thing is digital signature. We make this super easy. There's no need to, wet sign forms. We have it built in to the user interface. I'm going to show that. We obviously knew that security and data privacy is of utmost importance, and we handled it that way. Digital storage is a piece that basically allows, per the ATF, you to store all of your 4473s in the cloud. There is a variance that's required for that. We've been working with the ATF closely to make sure that Bravo is not only compliant, but we're the gold standard of the way that digital storage is going to be handled. And so if you're interested in the digital storage piece, I'd like you to email me at tally@baya.com so that we can start that variance process with you. And we're working with the ATF hand in hand to make sure that those variances are approved. Obviously, we want to make sure that this is ATF compliant. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. We guarantee compliance 100%. And then the next process that has to be auto-filled, that has to be filled out onto the 4473 is automated through Bravo so that you don't have to hand enter any of the required NICS information into the 4473 fields. So the net result is that you don't have to worry about liability because we have 5-tier security. We keep all of your data, all of your sensitive data private. You don't have to hope that you're compliant. We actually guarantee that our solution is 100% compliant. And at the end of the day, you can breathe easier knowing that we're going to be managing this process for you. Your employees who have a tremendous amount of burden and pressure to make sure that these forms are completed accurately, we help mitigate that because we're going to solve the biggest problems and the biggest ATF violations for you. And so these are all things, again, when we started developing this back at the beginning of the year that we were looking to solve. So I'm going to walk through the 360-degree experience, and I'm going to show you the new screens within Bravo. So if you've already signed up for 4473, thanks for being here. I think this training is super, super important for you, and I'll send a recording to everybody that's on this and everybody that's already signed up for 4473. The process will change the morning of the 25th. So when you walk into your store, you'll have brand new user interface and brand new user experience in the way that you collect and do gun transactions. So here's how it's gonna look. And I'm gonna walk through this, and then I have a video, and then I can actually go into Bravo for specific questions. And I have Travis on here, who is a level 3 support guy who has been testing and knows this really inside and out, even better than I do. And so he's on for Q&A. And so if you have any specific questions, I'll get him to answer those. So the first thing that's going to happen is that you're going to scan the firearm or select the firearm that's being redeemed, and you're going to collect the payment. Okay. So payment happens first before you go into the E4473 process. That is because the process for 4473s has changed starting November 1st. Okay, so this was a process change that happened, an operational change for your business. If you're on E4473 and you were not collecting payment first, Bravo now has you collecting payment first before the 4473 starts. So I'm just going to repeat that one more time. We actually have you collecting payment before the 4473 starts, and then the process flows through there. Now, once you collect payment and you come into this form start, and you know we're at the start of the form because it says start right here, you're going to go ahead and if you want to give a refund, so if for whatever reason the customer decides that they don't actually want to complete this transaction, we made it really easy to give them a refund through this screen so that you don't have to go through void view where there's no extra steps. You would just click refund right here. If it's a gun show, you can go ahead and click that and type in the relevant information, or if it's a private party transfer, you can click that and type in the relevant information. If not, the next step is going to be either to print or to text the link, okay? So we have the firearm that's been identified. So in this example, you can see that it's this Glock up here. And that's the important piece that has to be identified before the 4473 starts. And so this QR code and this link that gets sent to the customer actually identifies the gun on it, okay? So the QR code, we have the option to print to your receipt printer, or you would have the QR code that you can actually pull up if they wanted to scan it off of their phones. So you've got two options on that. And then for the text message, if you click send link, it will just send them the URL to begin their 4473 form. Okay, if you're using text messaging, we aren't charging for those per text fees on the 4473 links. And in the beta program, 95% of our users are sending the links through text message, and that's actually become the most common way to get the 4473 into your customers' hands. Okay, so that's the next step. Following that, your customer is going to get the link, and I'm going to show it. This is an example on a mobile phone. So they've got the form here, and you can see that it's the same firearm that is in Bravo. And once I'm going to click next to start the form. Now, if you looked at our pricing page, you know that we charge by the number of forms that are completed within an annual basis. And every time the consumer starts a new form here and they click next, that counts as one form. They're going to go ahead and complete all of the open fields and all of the yes, no questions. And if you see these little they're little eyes, these have the official ATF instructions on every single question, so that if your customer has any questions, they can just click the I and it gives the official instructions. Now, on the open fields, we have these as smart fields. So if they put in USA as the county, it will actually say, this isn't, this is for the county, not the country. So we've made it smart so that they can self-correct as they go. As they answer the yes or no questions wrong, they don't get any prompts or any help, obviously, answering those questions. And then the last stage for them is to sign it, and they can sign it vertically, or they can flip the phone and it will sign it horizontally. Once they complete that, back in Bravo, you'll notice that you're now in the review stage of the form. So it now, instead of saying form start, it actually says form review. And all you're going to do here is you're going to have their driver's license, and you're going to be confirming that all of the fields that they filled in on the 4473 match their ID. If there's any free form of questions that are answered incorrectly, so if the city is wrong or they spelled their name wrong, all you're going to do is you're just going to check the boxes that require correction or need fixing. Down here, you're going to notice there's been two questions that have been flagged, and both of these questions are flagged red, which means they answered them incorrectly. So you've got a few options here. The first thing is you are not able to accept it. So your employees are never going to be able to move beyond this without reconciling and either denying the 4473 altogether or resubmitting them the form to the customer to complete and fill it out the right way. So this is one of the areas you're never going to be able to continue on with this transaction until you address the yes, no questions that were answered improperly. Okay, so then after this, if you have questions that are answered improperly, or if you need to resubmit the form to the customer, you're going to go ahead and click resubmit. When they get the form back, if it's a free form field, we're going to highlight the ones that are wrong. So if they spelled their name wrong, it's going to show that they spelled their name wrong. We're going to pull in all of the information that they already answered, including all of the yes, no questions. So they don't have to start from scratch if they've already completed the 4473. They just need to update the fields that were incorrect or the yes, no questions that maybe you're giving them another try to respond on. Okay, so you'll be able to do that. And then they'll resubmit it and you'll have this screen again. And you'll want to click accept if you're ready to accept it, or again, deny it if you don't want to accept it. Obviously, doing any of these actions prints the 4473 for you through Bravo. So the next step is the NICS, or the state background check. If you don't use NICS, We have this built into Bravo, so you've got all your initial responses. If you click delayed, then you can put the date that you're able to transfer the firearm within delayed. And then you'll want to enter in the transaction number, and if you put in the reviewer name and the number, which are both optional fields. Okay. Then when you move on after that, that information has to go back onto the 4473 form, which we're going to automatically do for you. So the way that you answer this screen gets put on the 4473. You can always pull up the 4473 to view it down here by just clicking View E4473. So if you're somebody that has to call in to do the background check, or if you need to pull up the NICS screen, you can copy paste back and forth to get the information into the NICS check. You can also click Save and Close at any time. So if you have a customer and you need to help another customer, you can click Save and Close, and that'll be available under this customer's pending transactions whenever you're able, or whenever you want to start this transaction again. And then after you click Next, you come back to the payment screen. If you want to add anything else, if they want to redeem anything else, or you want to add additional line items to the transaction, you can do that there and click Save, and you'll be done with the transaction. The last piece of this that we wanted to make super simple is the ability for you to find any of the completed 4473s. And so we did this for you in two places. The first place is in the gun book. So anytime you open up the A&D book, you have E4473, and you just would select the line number of the form that you, of the line of the gun book where you want to view the form. So that's the first place to do that. The second place is going to be in void view transaction. So I can just go to the particular transaction. In this case, it was the sale of this firearm, and I would just click View E4473. So I can view it right there. So like I mentioned before, one of the things that I've heard over and over from our beta users, and we had 65 customers that were in beta, is just the amount of time and hassle that's saved by using E4473 and moving this to a digital version. People aren't having to do the manual internal audits of these forms, of the gun book, to make sure that the way that they're answered are proper and correct. And really, our customers' days are easier because of this solution, which is really just engineered to simplify what's something that's so complex and that hasn't been addressed really. It's really been an underserved area of selling guns. And then the last thing, and I'll sort of end this how I started, whenever you're ready to move forward, you'll get your personal project manager. That's going to be somebody from support to help you with the training and the implementation of this. We can schedule any additional training sessions that you want. If you want to use digital storage, which you can do according to the ATF, please email me at tally@bia.com so I can get that process started with you right away. The ATF has mentioned that it's possible that they're not going to be able to get on site until the spring, and they already have a list of people that are in line for the variants. So if you want to get on the digital storage train, please contact me immediately so we can get you in line. And then the last thing is we've got a tile on the Solution Center. So if you go to the Solution Center, you'll see a little square just dedicated to E4473 stuff. And this is really just the beginning. We did beta. This is our big launch of this brand new product. And then what happens after this is we will be migrating the place where the forms are completed from usedguns.com, which is where this is currently being completed. So you'll see used guns up in the top left. It will be moving to E4473.com. And so that's the next change that's coming. But we've got a ton of stuff planned for firearms, the firearm industry specifically, and more development for E4473. So we are super excited about this and spending a ton of time and development jumping into this brand new process. So that's an overview. I'm going to quick open up the chat because I see I have a few questions. Okay, so if a customer doesn't want to do the form online, or if they don't have a cell phone. So the first thing I'm just going to address, if they don't have a cell phone, you can do a kiosk. That's what some of our customers have set up. You can also just have a laptop where you can turn it around and they can do the 4473 on their laptop. The other option is we do have within the user interface to print the 4473. That is available to you for customers to be able to do that manually. Some agents have expressed that once you go digital, they don't like you to do a lot of manual forms, but it's not explicit. And there's nothing under the ATF that says you cannot do it. Just really depends on the relationship that you have with your agents. So that is probably the biggest question that I've heard from customers that are nervous to take the step of going digital. But I haven't had anybody that turned it off because their customers didn't want to do it. Okay, so the NICS process you still do with outside of Bravo. So basically you're going to pull up the 4473 that was completed, and then you can copy paste into NICS. So that piece is the only piece that stays, where you actually have to put it into LEAP or the NICS website or your state background check, depending on whichever you do. And that I've seen, that's really the only available way to do it still for now. There's nothing that automates that. So yes, assuming the ATF is fine with doing most of the forms on E4473 and some forms printed and handwritten, that's what our beta users did for people that are really have strong objections to filling something out online. Yes. Okay, so to answer the question on how to provide an ATF copy of the 4473 by fax when they require the information for the firearm that's used in a crime. So you can pull up the 4473 whenever you want, but you'll also have the printed version if you aren't doing digital storage. So the short term of this, if you don't move to digital storage, you'll still be printing all of these. Bravo will print it automatically at the end of the transaction for you. Once you move into digital storage, you'll always be able to reference and pull and print any of the forms that you need to fax. So we have it available for you in two places. One is in the gun book, and the other is in void view transactions, where you can always view and print somebody's 4473. Are there any other questions? Okay, if we do digital storage, how would we handle the forms we print out and customers fill in by hand? So we're working with the ATF on how they want this done. It's likely that within Bravo will allow you to upload documents within Bravo. So if they do it by hand, we're trying to figure out a way where you can just upload that handwritten version into Bravo that will be digitally stored, because that is something that we know we're going to have to solve for. Not every customer 100% will do it by hand, will do it via E4473. But again, we're having really, this is the first time that the ATF has really engaged in the way that they want this to be done. And they're working with us again to develop out the gold standard of what this looks like. And so we'll make sure that we're solving for that. But it'll likely be that you can just upload forms through Bravo. So yes, the question on performing background checks through NICS or from whatever state background check you have to do, it's within this screen that you're going to be able to pull up all of the 4473 information. So you'll see that you have view E4473 down here. So that'll pull up the form. And then you'll either copy and paste it, or if you have to call it in, which a lot of our customers do, you'll have the 4473 in front of you. And then the way that you answer the response is what then gets put on to the 4473 for you, so that you don't have to do that manual entry of the NICS background and the way that the NICS comes out. Okay. I think that's all I have. I've got a video that basically explains and shows through the screens exactly how this looks. And so if you guys would like to see that, if you could just put your email in the chat or in the Q&A, I'll send you the email with the video right after this to basically go into exactly everything that we covered today. If not, just remember that if you're on beta right now, that version sunsets on the night of the 24th, which means the 25th. If you haven't subscribed to the new E4473, you won't have that beta version anymore. And so it's important, if you want the new E44 on the morning of the 25th, you can shoot me an email at tally@baya.com, or you can reach out to your customer success manager, or you can just call in, and we'll get you going. And Brian, I will go ahead and I'll shoot you an email after this. We can get you started. Well, thank you so much for being here. We had a company meeting this morning. We don't get to launch brand new brands that often. It actually has been a really long time since we did one of these. And as business owners, I know you know how exciting it is to put something new into the world. And we're so excited about it. And really, really thank you for your support. We love getting to do this. Innovation is our favorite thing that we get to do on a day-to-day basis. So thanks for being involved in it. Multiple gun forms. So at the end of the transaction, it'll say exactly how it says right now, that this prompts a multiple handgun report. And you'll fill that out separately. One of the things that we are working on is a way to automate that. So Bravo will put in all of the multiple handguns into that report for you. So that is in our dev queue, and the roadmap for that is Q1 or Q2 of 2021. So we are working on that as soon as this next release goes out. Other questions, comments? Awesome. Okay, well, I'll stick around for a few minutes if you guys think of anything. If not, thanks again so much for being here. We really appreciate your support. Have a good rest of your week. Question on the current manual system changing even if you're not using E4473. Nothing will change if you're not using E4473. So all of this new user interface, you won't have any of that. You'll just have the existing current process and the way that it currently works in Bravo. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. If you have any other questions, again, feel free to email me at tally@baya.com. Thank you so much.